Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to talk about informal grammar. So some grammar forms, while you can use it in any politeness level, may have more of a formal or an informal feel to it. For example, some older grammar forms, such as less commonly used grammar forms, can have more of a formal feel. Speaking with these sorts of grammar forms can sound fancy, but also awkward when not used appropriately, such as toward a close acquaintance or a friend. Since it's important to use an appropriate level of speech, it's also important to know which sorts of grammar forms can feel more or less formal. And in this lesson, we'll cover just a few parts of grammar which can have an informal feel. So let's start off by talking about informal adverbs. Some adverbs are more commonly used in informal speech, so this includes the yo form as well as casual speech. These ones should be avoided whenever you're speaking formally. For example, when you're giving a speech, or if you just want to sound extra polite. Here are just a few examples of informal adverbs. 되게, meaning extremely, really, or very. 진짜, meaning really or very. 너무, meaning so much or very. 막, meaning like, wildly, or just. This one's also used as a filler word. And 완전, meaning completely or very. Note that 너무 is only considered informal when it's used to mean so much or very. When it's used normally to mean too much, it's not informal. Some particles as well can also have more of an informal feel. While it's okay to use these in speech, they should be avoided whenever you're speaking formally or whenever you just want to sound extra polite. However, these can still be used when speaking politely in everyday situations. Instead of 에게서, you could also use 안테서. And instead of 와 and 과, you could use 이랑 or 하고. Note that 이랑 becomes 이랑 after a consonant and just 랑 after a vowel. Again, these two forms can be used in regular polite speech, but should be avoided anytime you want to sound extra polite or in any more formal situations. Certain grammar forms can also have more or less of a formal feel. For example, less commonly used grammar forms can sometimes sound more formal or even fancy, simply because they're less commonly used. One example is the grammar form 에 따르면, which is a more formal version of 에 의하면, and means according to. Another is the more formal 도록 ending, instead of the common 게 ending, which means so that. Even the 때문에 form has a slightly more formal feel than the more common 으니까 ending, which means because. Here's an example of a grammar form that is considered to be informal, so it should be avoided whenever you're speaking formally or whenever you just want to sound extra polite. This grammar form is 가지고, and it attaches after a conjugated verb. It has the same meaning and usage as the 서 ending, meaning because. However, since it's informal, it can sound almost like slang. Here are a few examples. Instead of 해서, you could have 해가지고. Instead of 가서, you could have 가가지고. And instead of 먹어서, you can have 먹어가지고. Note that 가지고 can also be shortened to just 갖고, with no change in meaning. So I have some notes for this lesson, but first let's take a look at a listening practice. Here, one friend is calling another friend named 수지. 수지야, 수지, 갑자기 비가 와가지고 집에 갈 수가 없어. It suddenly started raining, so I can't go home. 지금 도서관에 준호랑 같이 있는데, now I'm at the library together with Juno. 여기로 차 가지고 와줄래? So, do you want to bring your car and come here? 오빠한테 말하면 차 빌려줄 거야. If you tell your older brother, he'll lend you his car.
수지야, 갑자기 비가 와가지고 집에 갈 수가 없어. 지금 도서관에 준호랑 같이 있는데 여기로 차 가지고 와줄래? 오빠한테 말하면 차 빌려줄 거야.
So before we go over some notes, try to do this quick quiz on your own. You can pause the video here and then unpause it when you're ready for the answers. Here are the answers. The first question is false. Older or less common grammar forms can feel more like slang. They can actually feel a little bit fancy or maybe formal. The next one is true. The informal particles 안테서, 이랑, and 하고 should not be used in more formal situations. And the next question is false. Informal grammar should never be used together with any form of polite speech. This isn't true. They can still sound polite, but they should be avoided in more formal or official speech. Now, the purpose of this lesson was not to teach every word or grammar form that sounds more or less formal. So just keep in mind that some words or grammar may sound more or less formal. And when learning a new grammar form or reviewing notes, consider what sort of speech that form might be appropriately used with. Also, if you use informal grammar with otherwise formal speech, know that this will actually not greatly affect the way that you sound. This sort of speech is not uncommon, even among native Korean speakers. So in this lesson, we had an introduction into informal grammar, and in the next lesson, we're going to start talking about what's known as the plain form. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next lesson. 그럼 다음에 또 봐!